It's never too early for a little loud rock and roll. How's everybody doing this morning? Gotta let that distorted dive bomb go. If you don't recognize me from the thumbnail, my name is Daniel Batal, and today we're going to talk about YouTube analytics. I might look a little different than I did in the thumbnail. I get this question a lot whenever I run tests, when I sit with clients and we're doing coaching calls, or even when I'm on Twitter or on YouTube and in the videos that I make on YouTube. I'm always referencing some of the things that I think are important for creators to understand about YouTube channel growth, because what we do here is we make videos, we upload them to YouTube, and we try to build an audience around that content. And what it becomes is a vicious circle where we learn from how those videos perform, and then we go back and we analyze and adjust. But one of the problems I see a lot of creators having is the ability to analyze properly, because YouTube analytics are actually fantastic. They're very deep. They're very specific to anything you want to understand about the performance of your content on the platform when your videos are put in front of the very target audience that YouTube thinks our content should be put in front of. And we can use those analytics to understand how to better make content that connects with the people we're trying to reach. So I thought I would take a second today and try to stay top of the funnel and start showing you the way I look at analytics, which might be helpful to you, because I think a lot of times people just look at them and go, I don't know, CTR, AVD, I don't know. There's Trey. Guess what, Corgi Butt? Good morning, Daniel. Thank you for the $2 super chat, my friend. Doing really well with your channel. Love seeing the Corgi Butt channel starting to really take off. Paul's Engineering Space. I thank you for the 10. Is it Australian? What's the A stand for, Megan? Hold on. What does that mean?
That I don't know.
Whatever the A is. We're learning here. Just wanted to give you some extra support because your DaVinci videos have helped me to get my channel started. Man, I appreciate that. I've always said that I never wanted this channel to be specifically just a how to edit videos channel. It was a bigger thing than that. Edit, make videos, put them onto YouTube, and grow an audience around it. But that's a big part of it, is understanding like the basics. I mean, how do you put up a video if you don't know what software to use and how to edit and put that together? So I've been having fun as my journey has moved on to DaVinci Resolve and talking about it a bit. I'm a noob like everybody else. Blaine Locklear in the house with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Blaine. Good morning, Daniel. Thanks for dropping some wisdom this morning. By the way, I think that's the best thumbnail you've ever made to date. Epic job, my EF Hutton. That's funny. Blaine always calls me his EF Hutton. We've worked on a couple of his channels, and he's got a silver play button. He's got one. Are we going for two? And he calls me EF Hutton because he's like, when Daniel speaks, I listen. And I've always thought that was the best compliment that I could ever be paid by anybody. Stormy Rail Productions is now a YouTube channel member, so make sure you go to the memberships tab of my channel. If you click across, you'll see memberships, and if you scroll down, it'll show perks, and you can actually see all the perks you can get, which include members-only live streams and members-only content. But we also have a members-only Facebook group where we dive deep every single day. So make sure when you become a member that you go there and that you apply for membership in the Facebook group, which is really simple. You go in there and you just have to put up your channel URL, and then Megan can make sure that you're a paid member and let you right in, and we can get to talking. But today we're going to be talking about YouTube analytics. So I want to start really simple. I want to start very at the top of where I usually look at analytics, and then we can get a little more granular. It's one of those things that I think people get confused by, because there's a lot of this. YouTube is a high-functioning platform, and it has a lot of capabilities to not only do a lot, but then analyze how the things you've done are actually performing, and if they're performing in a way that you want them to perform. So understanding how to use the analytics specifically for your position of your goals and what you're trying to accomplish is probably the most important thing that I want to make sure that you all understand. How many here, yell out in the chat, just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. How many of you feel like you have a good understanding of YouTube channel analytics? Thumbs up, thumbs down, and that you feel like I mostly get it, thumbs up, or, oh my gosh, no, I get a few things, but overall it's very confusing, thumbs down. So give me a thumbs up, thumbs down based on how overall you feel about your understanding of channel analytics. Because for me personally, every day it's like they add new features, they add new options, and I'm constantly, I'm a data geek at heart. I've said that before. I tend to talk about channels holistically when it comes to channel growth, because I think data is important, but you have to put data in its place, and you have to understand why data is important and why you're looking at it. You can't let data lead the conversation. You have to lead the conversation and say, well, what is it I'm interested in learning? What am I trying to figure out? And then learn how to use that data to determine whether or not the things you're trying to do, the goals you're trying to hit, the video content strategy you might be employing on your channel is either effective or non-effective. And sometimes I think we get caught in the trap of just looking at data and hopefully thinking that will tell me if I'm doing a good job. Is it a good CTR? Is it a good AVD? Is it a good, amount of views? And we start leaning on the data to try to tell us something without having the questions in our minds about what it is we're trying to have that data tell us. These are just stats. They're just things coming back from the target audience that YouTube thinks our content should be served to, and understanding a better way to interpret that. I'm looking in the chat here. Oh man, I've got a lot of, that's thumbs up. Got many thumbs down. From my C Prince goes, no, just forget it. It's like 90 thumbs down. It's tricky. Kind of in the middle. There you go. Death Monkey. Right? In the middle there somewhere. Got a little bit of both. I see a lot of thumbs down. I think that, and that's not a bad thing. It's thumbs up, thumbs down. It's right across the board. And I think that actually represents how I honestly feel most people think about analytics. One of the things I want to start with is I want you to understand that whenever you put out content, whenever you make content for your channel, we want to go under the presumption that YouTube is trying to put our content in front of people that it thinks is the right target audience for our type of content that we make. We are in control of helping YouTube make that determination. And a lot of that comes from the idea of really having a strong value proposition and making content week after week that someone who watched our last video would want to watch our next video. So the idea of looking at metrics sort of starts with the idea of having a very focused channel content strategy that's targeting a very specific target audience that understands what our channel is about, who the target audience is, why they would watch, and why they would watch tomorrow. I think one of the biggest things people forget about is that YouTube uses viewer behavior as a reference point, a big reference point of deciding how they're going to recommend content. And what YouTube is looking at any given point is, are they clicking? Are they watching? How long are they watching? And the number 4 most important thing that I think gets forgotten in the conversation, what are they going on to watch next? And we, at any given point, come into conflict in a certain way with YouTube, because YouTube's very happy if someone watches our video and then they go on to watch another channel. And they'll go, cool, every time we watch your video, we'll just recommend that other channel and we'll send them in that direction. And as creators, that creates conflict, because YouTube's happy that people have stayed on platform, because if they stay on platform, they can serve ads along the way, they make money, they share that money with creators. That's the goal. Get them watching, keep them watching. But for us, we need to be selfish. We need to figure out a way. No, we don't want you to watch my video and then go on to watch someone else's. We want you to go on, watch my video and go on to watch another one of my other videos. That's how I create binge sessions, binge watch sessions, view funnels that will get people watching multiple pieces of my content, stay here on my channel, because if they do that, YouTube's more likely to recommend more of my content to people tomorrow. Because I've proven to YouTube that it's a safe bet to recommend my own content after something they may have already watched from my channel. So we're always looking at analytics to see how well we do with that out of the gate with a new video, how well we're pushing towards other content, and thinking about content strategy along the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up. Let me do this. I want to make sure that everyone understands how to find their analytics. First of all, that I suppose should be the opening gambit, right? Here's my channel. This is my channel right here. Whenever you're logged into YouTube, if you go in the upper right and you click on, you can see my fuzzy little face with sunglasses in the upper right. I have tools for this. Hold on. Let me do that. And let's do that. I'll get it. I'll get there yet. I will get there yet. It'll be a moment, but I will get there. Hold on. There we go. New tools. I'm learning them. This is a new one for me. Okay, there we go. In the upper right, you see that little fuzzy face? That's how you can log into your YouTube Studio Analytics. And I recommend that we always use desktop. I know some of you are on mobile. I like mobile. I think mobile is a good way to sort of keep up with things on the go. But I'm going to tell you all day long, if you really want to have a deep dive into understanding your target audience, use your desktop analytics. They are much deeper. They are much more focused, and they're going to give you the kind of information that you really need. Right now, mobile is more peripheral. And if you're sitting there saying, well, I only do it from my mobile device, go on desktop, get a cheap laptop, get whatever, or open up a desktop browser from your mobile device and log in. Because you really want to use desktop to have a deeper understanding of what's working. It's a much deeper level of analytics than you'll ever get from mobile. So if you were to click in that upper right and you scroll down, you'll see YouTube Studio. If you click on YouTube Studio, it's going to bring you right here. Look at that. I got fireworks. I got fireworks going on right here. That's wonderful. I love that. This is your dashboard. This is the first place I tell people to pay attention to. It's a great place to start because what the dashboard does is it gives you sort of a generic idea, overall impression of what's going on in your channel at that moment, especially with new videos you've just uploaded. This morning I uploaded, let me see, let me go a little deeper in here. I can get this right. I'll figure this out. Yeah, there we go. This morning I uploaded another short. Some of you may have noticed that I was doing a DaVinci Resolve short strategy. I went 30 days. I stopped for 3 or 4 or 5 days, and then I started it back up. We're starting to see, what you're seeing here is that new short right out of the gate. At number 1, it's doing well. That's what I'm looking for. I want to see when I drop a video. I'd like to see it in the top 3 whenever possible. That means something I've done is doing well. This is your dashboard, and it's always going to show you your latest video as compared to other videos of that content type. That's one thing I really, really want you to understand, of that content type. In this situation, this morning, I launched a short. So if I hover over that ranking by views, it's going to show me, pardon my skipping mouse, it's going to show me other videos that are of that content type. So it's only going to, it says, well, you published a short this morning. Let's see how that video as a short has performed so far in the opening. In this case, it's 3 hours and 10 minutes, as compared to other shorts, your most recent 10. It's always most recent 10. And that's an important thing to understand. Sometimes people think this means like channel-wide, like, oh, I got a number 1. That's great. I'm doing great. It's not. It's just your most recent 10. So understanding the perspective of what we're looking at here, if I had a cold streak and my last 10 videos were crap, well, then it would be easier to hit a number 1 out of 10 because I may have done one that's just slightly better than crap. I'm hoping like my recent videos haven't been crap for my shorts. I'm hoping they've been decent, and I hope they've been meeting the needs of the viewing audience I'm trying to reach. If you're really putting it forward, then you will know how your latest video has performed for that time frame, and this is only for that time frame. If you look right underneath the video itself here, it says first 3 hours and 10 minutes. So the first 3 hours and 10 minutes, this is number 1 out of 10 out of my most recent 10 shorts in terms of how many, it's really based on views is what they lean into, how many views it's gotten in that 3 hours. So I'm happy. I'm trying to, with every short, have it perform a little better than the previous one. I'm trying to gain momentum. So this is a great place to pay attention to. If you had a live stream or if you had an edited video, it would show you how that video is performing against the most recent 10, what we call VODs, videos on demand, which I think is starting to become an outdated term. We really just mean longer form videos. And you can start comparing how it's done and see like, well, how's it doing? What are the other ones that are doing well? And it gives you sort of an overview. I love hanging over this 1 out of 10 and getting an idea of, well, what else is performing? What's been doing well? If this was number 10, I'd want to go, well, what was number 1? And I can start thinking about the topics, the titles, and go, well, why was that not number one? What did I do? What did I do differently? Was it the thumbnail? Was it the title? And I can start thinking about how that video is performing in context of recent videos. So dashboard, I love, simple click, and use it to understand how your most recent video is performing. I love this space for a couple of reasons. You can actually go, let me just put that back up here for a second. You can actually go, if you see down at the bottom, it says go to video analytics. You can click on the analytics, and this is where you can start getting a better feel for how that specific video is performing with more detail. If you're really interested in the detail, which I sometimes get granular with it, that's a great place to go. Newest video. If you've got a new video you just published and you're like me and you're really thinking about did the thumbnail work, did the title work, I really want to see how this is performing, this is the best place to go. Right in your dashboard, click on the video, then decide to view the analytics. I pay attention to a lot of things. I pay attention to especially where that video is driving traffic from, right? All of this stuff on the right is super important because it's going to tell you, well, where are the views coming from? Are all views created equal? Man, if you've got a video you just dropped, but you just linked it across, a group that you're a part of on Facebook, and you pushed it on Twitter, and you've got all kinds of external views, that's very different. All views are not created equal. You want to know, where is this video doing well? Where do I want it to do well? And let me pay attention to how it's doing organically on platform. Let me talk to you about that for a second. I'll hold that for 1 second, Megan. Let me talk to the people for 1 minute about what I mean by on-platform views. I think sometimes one of the things people get confused by is they just look at views and they think all views are created equal. They're like, oh, my video's doing really well. Look how many views it got. And I always say, well, what are the traffic sources? And they're like, what do you mean? Like, well, YouTube tells us where those views are coming from. Did they come from search? Did they come from browse, right? The homepage of YouTube. Did they come from suggested, right? Someone was watching your video and in the up next or the sidebar, that video was being recommended next to another video. Is it external? Did you link that in one of your, maybe you're a cooking channel and you're part of a big cooking group on Facebook and you dropped a video in that Facebook group and tons of people are clicking on it in the Facebook group. The reason that can be important is because at the end of the day, YouTube can only use the data from people who are consuming your content on platform to make better recommendations with that content. Think of it this way. If you were a restaurant owner and you put a little card sheet out there that said, hey, do me a second before as you're paying your bill, can you just tell me like how many times you've eaten here, what do you thought of your dinner tonight, what you thought of the restaurant staff, and you put in an anonymous little quick click, telling the restaurant what you thought about them. They have information they can work from. They have information that they can now use to make sure that if you didn't like something about your meal, they can modify that. If they didn't like something about the staff, they can go, we have a problem, we've been getting complaints. That's how they learn. If someone is watching your content and it's all externally, they're not logged into YouTube, they happen to be watching an embedded video that you put somewhere else, that's great that you got a view, but YouTube can't do much with that data. They didn't learn anything about the viewer. So one of the things I always look at is where those views are coming from, because views that are on platform, browse, suggested, search, any kind of recommendation, channel pages, anywhere where on platform people can find your content, super important because YouTube can learn from those views and it can increase the chances of getting your content recommended more frequently. What was that one comment you just pulled up there a minute ago, Megan?
Hold on 1 second.
I think it's important to understand that. Robin asks, what about analytics? You can look right under the live stream on YouTube, not on the analytics studio what about the analytics you can look at right under the live stream? You're going into a deeper dive. Robin, I'm going to hold off. I don't want to confuse the conversation. What I want to make sure you understand, you're going to get served analytics in different ways. And what you need to understand is what that means. We're going to start with YouTube analytics. I'd love to do live stream analytics, and we may get to that a little later on. But right now, let's focus on channel analytics because they apply to all content. They apply to shorts. They apply to VODs or regular edited content, long form content. They apply to live streams, and they apply to community tab posts. Let me show you some of that. When I was talking about looking at analytics, one of the very first things that I tend to do when I'm looking at my own content here back on the dashboard, there's your dashboard. I love the fireworks. Don't you guys love the fireworks? It's a good feeling when you're like, yay, fireworks. I did something right. That's my home. That's my dashboard. That's where I just catch up with latest video. How's it doing? I can get into that groove. The next place you want to live on the left-hand side, if you scroll down to more, we're on dashboard. Click on analytics. And this is going to give you your analytics based on typically a default setting of 28 days. Now that 28 days is defined in the upper right. Can you guys see in the upper right here? If I hit this drop-down menu, I can even do my thing, and I can go, okay, in the upper right, you're always going to default to typically last 28 days. It's a good thing to start with, but I want you all to know that sometimes we're looking deeper. Sometimes we want to have a broader perspective than 28 days. That's not even the last month. That's only the last 4 weeks. It's less than the last month. A lot of times I'll ask people, how did your channel do in the last month? And they'll show me 28 days. And I say, well, there was 31 days in the month, so you're missing some data. So last 4 weeks, last 28 days is what it defaults to, which is great. But you can just do a drop-down menu, and you can change all of that based on specific time frames that you want to see. You can do a custom time frame. This is my favorite. If you scroll down to the bottom here, you can set a custom date range, and you can go, I just want to know how my content is performing between one date and another. And if you see, you're looking at a calendar here, there's a big blue dot on the 16th that's because that's 28 days prior to now, and it's ending on today, the 13th. But maybe I don't want to know that. Maybe I specifically want to know, I want to know how it's done since, when's a good, when have we been pushing views? Right before the holidays tends to be big. So maybe I want to know from the beginning of December last year, and I click on that and see how that all highlights. See how it's now highlighting? And I want to know from the beginning of December to now, which is probably 5 or 6 months, right? 6 months total, I think. I want to know how I've done in the last 6 months, but I want to know based on a very specific date range. I can select that date range and then hit apply. And then whatever I look at here is now going to look at that date range. So you can see we get a very different view now based on the date range that I've asked YouTube to give me metrics for in my overall analytics. This little section over here, so what you're looking at here is the 6 month, so that would be the 6 month view. December 1st of last year to May 13th of this year, which is maybe 6 months, and that's about 6 months and 13 days, give or take. And it'll give you a better idea of where things have been popping. You can see I had a series that talked about the Filmora license issues that popped really big for me here. There was some resurgence later on. And one of the things I think people look at is they go, oh my gosh, what happened, Daniel? You did really well, and then your channel sucked. One of the things about analytics that you have to understand is perspective. Perspective is so important, so important. And I'm saying that because I want you guys to understand perspective. If you were to look at the analytics I just showed you, would you get that feeling? Would you get that feeling like, wow, you were crushing it and then you kind of sucked? I don't know what you did there, Daniel, but do more of that. Do that thing again, because that was like, you were crushing it. Is that how that looks? Is that how that looks? Let me know. Does that kind of feel like that? Like, whoa, what happened, man? You had a moment where you figured it out and then you were being stupid again. One of the things I want you to understand is perspective. Perspective is huge. Okay. During this section of time, one of my videos drove 1 million views in 2 weeks. And it went on to drive, I think, a total of 1.4 million views. Platform-wide, across the entire spectrum that is YouTube. And this is where I always talk about perspective. Less than 0.5, not 1%, 0.5, less than that of all videos on YouTube have ever reached 1 million views. I want you to digest that for a second. I want you to take a second to internalize that. Less than 0.5% of all videos on YouTube have ever reached 1 million views. I've got two, one at like 1.4 and one at 2.2. The reason I mention that is not to be like a humble brag or anything. It's because I want you to understand that I've seen videos that perform really, really well, and I've had videos that perform not well, and then everything in between. And I think what happens is with analytics, sometimes people have this idea of, I just want to finally make that video that drives 1 million views. I can promise you that is the unicorn. It's one of the most impossible things to make happen. And if that's your expectation, it's going to be something that the vast majority of you, 99.5% of you, will never hit that. And for those who have, congratulations. But the reality lives in the 99.5% of the rest of the content on YouTube, which is all of the stuff in between, which is trying to connect with people in a way that isn't 1 million views. It's trying to make sure that the stuff week after week connects with them, that we hit our own personal goals. We're trying to set up the ideas of what it is we want our content to do. And every week we go, what do I expect this video to do? Why am I building it this way? And what do I want it to do? And did it do that? And if it does that, we have a much better understanding of how to utilize our analytics to go, got it. That's what I wanted it to do. It is pretty funny the way that some people get very, very fixated on specific numbers. You know, perfect example. How do you get subs out of those numbers? Right to subs, right? What you didn't ask me, Robin, was what was the goal of that content? Do you have any other, is that what it is, views and subs? What's the goal of growing a YouTube channel? Is it just views and subs? Is that it? Who cares? Who cares how many subs you have? I have over 250,000 subs. What does that matter? What does that got to do with anything? I think what happens is what do you plan on doing with that subscriber base? What do you plan on doing with the people who are watching and are being invested in your content? That's a deeper conversation that I'm hoping that spending a little time here with analytics, everyone understands, because I think that I've seen more channels that I know who have under 50,000 subscribers and have 6-figure incomes that I've worked with. And people go crazy, like, wait a minute, 6-figure incomes? They're under 50,000 subscribers and they're making over $100,000 a year? Yep. But not from YouTube, not specifically from AdSense, because AdSense itself, if you're just fixated on views, subscribers, I think we clutch vanity numbers. We cling to numbers that we can go, I have so many subscribers, I have so many views. You know what? I'd much rather have someone come up to me and go, yeah, I've got 37,000 subscribers. I've got 2.5 million views on my channel lifetime. Yeah, and I'm making over $100,000 a year. I go, killing it. Because that's where most people live, not in that million viewed video range, not in that, most creators won't get a silver play button. So I want to make sure that all of the things we talk about today don't make you feel less empowered. I want them to make you feel more empowered. And to look at some of this, let me show you some of the data. If you want to look at what kind of money someone like me, and every niche is different, let's look at the last 365 days. Here's the last 365 days on my channel. I have made, in the last year, just north of $20,000 in AdSense. I spent more than $20,000 last month in travel and cameras. Megan, am I lying?
No, definitely not.
One of the things I also think is that creators get fixated on is AdSense money. There are some niches, there are some channels that will drive more AdSense money, that will make more money depending on the content and what advertisers are willing to pay for that specific type of content. And then it varies throughout the year. It's much like the stock market. It's not a consistent number. There's no guarantees. But one of the things I tell people is, like, when you get fixated on how much money can I make? How many views can I get? How many subscribers I can get? I try to use data in analytics to set much higher goals than just that. Because if I had to rely on this, I would not be a full-time content creator. I make well into the six figures. And this is just a tiny little piece. And if it goes up, it goes up. There are times I pay attention to it, and there are times that I could care less. It's just one of those things. It's like, all right, well, that helps defer some of the costs of things that we pay here. AdSense, I would be, pretty much, probably right at or below the poverty level in the US if I relied specifically on AdSense. So you want to think about what it is you're trying to do and how to read your analytics in a way that meet the goals. So setting up the goals are the kind of things that you want to think about. What analytics do sponsors like to see before offering to work with your channel? We'll get to, right off the bat, reach. It's a thing called reach. It's actually a really good question because I think at the end of the day, there are good sponsors and bad sponsors, story retold. You're asking the question that everyone in this chat is thinking about right now. What's the important metric? What's the one analytic that I need to pay more attention to than anything else to see if my channel is growing properly? And I'm gonna tell you it's reach, which means how many people is your content reaching on platform, preferably, although we do see some external views. And when you want to figure that out, here's the number you want to look at. Here's the metric. Views is one that we pay attention to, right? Everyone goes views, but watch this. Watch what's more important. Let me just clear out of this. If we go to, let me get in here to content. Let me go over to here. Let me let it load up. Give it a second. Here we go. Okay. What you want to start looking at is when you see, let me separate by content. I'm going to go by videos. The one that we really want to look at, impressions. That's our happy place right there. Impressions is what's defined as YouTube basically putting that thumbnail, that video out in front of people in places where it can gauge whether or not the content's performing. Views is the one that people get excited about, but impressions is the one that shows reach. We're always measuring things based on impressions. I guarantee. How many times have you had someone say, "Let me ask the question. I'm gonna keep this simple. Let me ask the question in chat. What do you guys think is a good CTR?" Answer the question. What if I said to you, "Hey, what's a good CTR?" Tell me in the chat what the answer to that question would be from you. From your perspective, from your thoughts on the idea of someone asking what a good CTR is. Because I think it's one of those things that people get very wrapped up in individual metrics. And I've always said that analytics is a bit like, focusing on one metric can be like pushing your nose against a tree and then trying to see the forest. You only see the tree. You only see this. You can't see the whole forest. If you're looking at one tree and you go, well, how big is the forest? You're like, I'm only looking at this one tree. I only see the tree. The old adage of you can't see the forest for the trees because you're just staring at the trees and not stepping back and absorbing. Let me look at what some people are saying. 5% CTR is a good CTR. 4% is a good CTR. 8, it looks like 8 or greater or under 8. But it's 8, let's say. I'm going to go with 8. 12. 12's a great CTR. Yeah, sure. Okay. 5% CTR. Depends on the item. 2 of my viral videos have 3%, but my standard long-form content has 13. How do you explain that? So your best performing content has a 3% CTR, but your standard content has 13. What does that start to tell you? What do you start to learn from that conversation? 4. 5 to 10 depends on niche. Everyone's very quick to yell numbers. Let me tell you what a good CTR is. I can tell you the platform average on YouTube, is about somewhere between 2 to 10%. But does that number matter? Does it matter? It only matters if you understand how to look at CTR at scale. And I've talked to most of my coaching clients about this, and I try to bring their heads around. If I told you I had a video that had, let me give you an example. If you guys all think, let me tell you, you tell me if you think if this video has a good CTR or not a good CTR, because a lot of times, what's one of the things that a lot of times people do? They think about CTR and they go, well, if it's not a good CTR, what's one of the first things they think to do? Change the thumbnail, right? It's not a good CTR. If it's not a good CTR, I've been trained, I need to change the thumbnail. So one of the things you want to think about is understanding CTR. Because if you believe that your video has a bad CTR, then you will most likely go and change the thumbnail. And you go, well, I need to change that because it should be performing better. And if it's not, maybe change the thumbnail. Here's where one of the things that I get super worried about. If I told you a video had a CTR of, I don't know, let me say like 3% or 4%, would you say that that's a good CTR? Would you say change the thumbnail? Would you say, maybe upgrade the thumbnail? One of the things I think people don't understand is that metrics change at scale. Average view duration changes at scale. CTR, all of these things, when your video gets pushed out to more people, those are all going to go down. Those are going to go down. So understanding when you're looking at that metric, how you're looking at that metric, which video you're looking at that metric in. Metrics for your niche. Important stuff. Because I get this all the time. People go like, oh, your CTR was low. It was down to 3%. I was like, yeah, that was on 50 million views. 50 million impressions. When's the last time you've gotten 50 million impressions and had a point of reference to go, I know what a good CTR for my channel is for that amount of impressions. One way to look at that is imagine if you were selling something door to door, like you literally went through your neighborhood and you started knocking on doors and you were selling whatever that was, newspapers, vacuum cleaners. You started walking door to door and you knocked on the door. Well, maybe the person who lives next door to you is your friend. You see him every day. Maybe they're friends of your parents. And you knock on the door and you go, hey, I'm selling chocolate bars for a fundraiser we're doing to raise money. And your next door neighbors go, oh, count me in. Let me buy 3. Sales are way up. Sales are way up. Boom. You knocked at the doors close to you. Well, then later on in the week, you're now in the car and you're driving around to other parts of town where you don't know people and you're knocking on their doors. Half of them aren't home. Even the people who do answer go, I don't know you. I'm busy. Please don't knock on my door. The response might be different, right? Maybe they're not so quick to answer the door. Maybe they're not so quick to buy not 1 chocolate bar for your fundraiser, but not 3, not even 1. Why? They don't know you. They don't know who you are. They don't have any investment in you. YouTube is very similar to that. When your video first gets launched, YouTube is going to put it in front of people it thinks is your target audience. People who have watched recent videos, who have been engaging with your content, who have some of your videos in the recent watch history. And those people are more likely to engage. You should have a higher CTR on your initial drop. You should see a surge in that initial 24 hours. And let me show you the kind of thing you need to pay attention to when you initially launch a video. Here's a video that we were talking about. This is my video since published that has a 16.1 CTR. Very high for my channel overall. I know that videos that get somewhere around a 13.5% CTR in the first hour to 2 hours of publishing is probably going to be a strong video for my channel. Why do I know that? Does YouTube say that 13.5% is a great CTR? No. I know from other videos that I published, if they can hit that high, I know that I've done something right. So it's usually topic, thumbnail, title, timing, structure, execution, all those things. One of the ways we can learn this is if you pull up an individual video, pay attention to in the upper right, remember we talked about time frames, you can actually set this for the first 24 hours. This video here will then show you metrics just for the first 24 hours. And if I go to CTR, this one peaked at 27.4% in the first hour. 27.4. So when I dropped it, I went, don't change a thing. You've got everything working the way it should. It's doing what it should be doing. That's a very high. I mean, forget 13.5%. I'm close to 28%. So I'm over 27% CTR. That one's crushing it. I'm like, leave that video alone. Don't change the title. Don't change the thumbnail. And what I've done before this video was dropped, what I did to build up to this video to get the expectation for people to watch made this happen. So that's what I'm looking at, right? I'm looking at the individual video. I'm just doing the date range, first 24 hours, and then under the reach tab, I'm paying attention to the CTR for the first 24 hours. I do this all the time. When I drop a video, I'm like, let me see how I'll pay attention to it in the first couple hours. How's the CTR? How's the average view duration? It sometimes out of the gate, that can be confusing. That can be very confusing because you think there's a specific, we all grasp onto the idea of give me a number. Tell me what's the right number. The right number is sort of an average for you. You'll learn what's right for you. One of the other things I can tell you is look at this video over its lifetime. Okay, it's driven, let me go back to overview. This video has driven 218,000 views. And when we went to the reach tab, it has an average CTR of 16.1%. Okay, cool, right? Life is good. That's the new bar, the new metric. Well, let's take a look at another piece of content. Let me look at, let me just pull up the video that started that whole series, which was, let me see if I can find lifetime licenses. That's what started this. Here's the video. Here's another video. Let's look at the analytics here. Let's go into reach. Here's a video that over its lifetime only got a 4.6 CTR. Only got 4.6. 4.6. And when we dive into if we change it to the first 24 hours, when I first launched this in its first 24 hours, it peaked at 12.7. So if I got fixated on just the individual numbers and I didn't, and I had my nose pressed against the tree instead of understanding the forest, I'm looking at very basic numbers. Well, this video got it got a 7.6% overall click-through rate on the first day with a peak at 12.7. Well, that's not as good a video as one in the first 24 hours that got a 19.2% click-through rate and a 27.4 peak in the first hour. That's the highest peak in the day. This should have driven a lot more views, right? Just based on, look at how many people are clicking it. Well, let's look at lifetime on this. This one, lifetime, drove 218,000 views. And then this one, lifetime, drove 1.4 million views. Can you see that just getting super focused on individual metrics will always confuse you? It will never give you the answers because you're relying on the data to give you answers without knowing the question you're asking first. Comparing these two videos was very important, right? This is just really simple analytics. I'm just in the analytics. I'm under the video, right? The very first one, you're used to the details. This is where we set up the thumbnail and we set up the title. And then the next tab down on the left gives us the analytics. If you click on the analytics, it'll open up the analytics and you just set the date range in the upper right. But the difference being here is this video was served to so many more people. So many more people, right? The impressions, it's got 16 million impressions. That's what this video did. 16 million impressions. 16 million people my video was served to. That's the difference between that and the video that we looked at over here. This one, when we look at the impressions, was served to 897,000 people. Very different, not even a million. The higher performing video was served to well over 16 times more, right? 1,600% more people than this one. So what you start to see is like, oh, it seems like the more people your video is served to, maybe things like click-through rate go down. Maybe things like average view duration start to go down. Like how long are they watching? Those things that we get fixated on, right? Because we go, well, engagement, right? That's super important. Well, okay, let's look at the engagement on this, this 1.4 million viewed video. Isn't that what we're supposed to pay attention to, Daniel? Well, here's the performance. 59% of the viewers were watching around the 30-second mark. I got to get my face out of there, but 50%, 59%. And if you look at this data graph, you go, oh, Daniel, you got to change something. Look what happened. Look what happened. Oh my gosh, a minute in, you've lost 59% of your viewers. I did that at scale. That's one of the things I want you guys to really start understanding. Before we dive into, let me showing you your data, is stop being fixated on what's the right CTR, what's the right average view duration, what's the right thing, those are the biggest mistakes I see creators, they make because they don't have perspective. They don't have perspective. Once your video starts knocking on the doors of not only your neighbors, but then the greater neighborhood, maybe across the city, maybe 2 towns over, that's when those metrics are going to start to go down. What you should be paying attention to is impressions, velocity. Oh my gosh, my little video no longer is secluded to just my neighborhood. It's not only, it doesn't have just a few thousand impressions. It's YouTube is only serving it out to my closest neighbors. It's starting to serve it out to 2 towns over. It's starting to serve it out to people who have no idea who I am. And those numbers are still pretty good. If I can maintain a 4 or 5% CTR on a video that's being served to millions of people, that's much better than having a 4 or 5% CTR on a video that's being served to 3,000 people. Much different, because now I have to convert a very higher number of people. So what you want to think about is whatever we're looking at today, I want you to think about metrics at scale. At scale, when a video performs really well for your channel. So always have that scale at reference, okay? But let me show you a couple things I want to make sure that we're getting into this so you understand what to look at and some of the things you want to pay attention to. Megan, feel free to throw up any comments along the way that I might be missing. I want to take a quick second to thank our sponsor, who is StreamYard, who allows me to make great live streams like this every single day of the week. They're fantastic. I've got a link down below where you can start trying out StreamYard for free today and stream up to 20 hours with no obligation whatsoever. Sign up, start live streaming. They allow me to do the share screen stuff and be able to make the kind of live streams you do here every week. So thanks StreamYard for being a sponsor of this kind of thing, because I think it's important. They're one of the few companies I know that actually jump on to helping creators learn more about how to grow YouTube channels selflessly and sponsor the kind of content we do here. So give them a shout out, give them a try, link down below. Do metrics breaking down views based on region for example, if the views are from US, UK, or Australia, do they metrics breaking down? Yeah, you can do, we'll get into that. Let me show you how, I think a lot of the questions you're going to be asking is like, well, how do I start segregating metrics? How do I start separating? If there's specific things I want to know, man, it just looks like YouTube analytics are scary, and there's very specific things I want to know. Let me show you how to do that. That's because I think that's actually a really great question. Where we are right now, let me just get my face out of this and go full screen. So where we are right now, if you come into YouTube analytics, right, and here's your dashboard, I think that's the best place to focus on a video you've just published. As I said, but if you go onto the left and scroll down 2 on the left-hand side over here, you'll see analytics. And this is where you start seeing that view of sort of what's happening overall. And it's a great sort of overview, just taking a peek at what's going on in your channel. If you scroll down, you can see things like your top content in this time frame. Remember, we're always thinking about it's relative to the time frame that we've established in the upper right. So in the last 28 days, I go, okay, well, this DaVinci Resolve for Noobs video has done pretty well for me at 31,000 views. This is a short, actually, right here that has done pretty well at 20,000 views. But in the last 28 days, there's some other shorts here that I've done that have done pretty well. A conversation about why I switched from Filmora. This is starting to give me an idea of what's done well, but very recently. So I expect recent videos to have done well. That would make sense, right? So a lot of times I like to go out to 90 days and go, don't just show me what's done well recently. Give me a broader perspective, and that will change. It'll give me an overall idea of what's been doing over a longer time frame and give me some better perspective, and you can see these videos change. But this is really just the overview. I love this area. This is interesting to know. It's always important to know what's been doing well on your channel for the last 90 days and the last 28 days. very important, good information to know. At any given moment, you should know, because sometimes here's where people get screwed up. I'll ask them, what's the highest performing video on your channel? And they'll quote something that's like, oh, it's this one, and it's got the most amount of views. And I'll say, is it driving the most traction in the last 90 days? And they'll say, I don't know what you're talking about. I'll say, well, it got the most amount of views, but that video's 5 years old. Is it driving views now? Knowing what's driving views now is far more important than knowing what's done really well on your channel. Again, those vanity metrics to say, well, I have a video that's driven 2.2, the highest performing video on my channel has driven 2.2 million views. Yeah, guess what? It's not driving any kind of views right now in the last 90 days. So is that video important? No, because it's not being put in front of people. It's not driving traffic to my channel right now. It's not moving the needle for me today. So understanding what's working for you right now and what's being pushed out versus what has done historically well over the lifetime of your channel, two different conversations based on what your goals are. Because the highest performing video on my channel was one that talked about a technique in Filmora. That's great. That's great. I'm glad it drove over 2.2 million views. Very happy about that. Does nothing for me right now other than to go, I know there was a time where I talked more about Filmora. I know there was a time where one specific video I did talking about Filmora did very well when I was showing how to edit like Zach King. Maybe I want to think about reapproaching Zach King using DaVinci Resolve. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But it's not bringing a lot of new viewers to my channel right now. That's where I want to pay attention to, is what's moving the needle for me right now and understanding why that content is. So 90 days, 28 days, a great place to live right here. When you go up top, I also want you to understand this is your overview. It's always going to show you views, watch time, subscribers, estimated revenue based on the time frame that you've got in the upper right. Learn to change your time frame. Learn to make sure you know what you're looking at, because you can always, one of the things that's problematic, like I was talking earlier, let's say you had a video that drove 1 million views that did great. Well, guess what? Everything in your dashboard for the next few weeks is probably not going to be number 1 out of 10, because if you have a breakout video, you could still make 2-3 other great videos that just didn't drive 1 million views, and YouTube, just because it compares, is going to say, this is number 3, number 4 out of 10. So just trying to hit the number 1 spot doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You have to understand that for the time frame, well, maybe I had a video that did really well, and I have to read my metrics and my analytics, understanding I had something that popped, and it doesn't mean these other videos are bad. It just means that YouTube is comparing it to something that popped. And if you know that going in, if you understand how to read your analytics and go, well, what's it comparing it to? Then you can go, I can still be doing great. I don't expect every video to drive 1 million views. The other thing to look at when you're here is, I love the content tab. This is one of my favorite tabs. The reason I love this is recently they've changed it. So it used to just be all content, but now it's broken down to, if you can see up here, let me grab this. It's broken the content down. It starts with all of them together, but then you can click on just videos, just shorts, just live streams, and even community tab posts. Community tab posts are something I think people don't pay attention to. I love living in this space right here because I can go, well, how are my videos performing? And now I'm just looking at the metrics for my long form videos, right? I clicked on analytics, over to the content tab. Now I'm just looking at videos. These are just edited videos. Okay, that's cool, but I've been dropping shorts too. Let me see how the shorts are doing. Click on the shorts tab. I've been focusing on shorts, so look what's happening. Now I can separate and go, okay, let me just see how my shorts are performing on my channel. I also do live streams every now and then, so you can see the live stream points and go, very typical for me, like what's happening here. I can see they're peaking when I'm going live. What kind of views are they driving in between on the replay? A lot of times I can look at the valleys and go, well, in between, what kind of views do I drive? Maybe 200 or 300 views in between. A little higher recently. Been doing more like 300 or 400 views in between on some of these. So it gives you an idea of separating the content. Community tab posts. People think community tab posts don't mean anything. But here I've been really digging community tab posts. And not only do I dig them, people go like, well, what good are those? Well, if you do them right, they can actually add subscribers to your channel. You can actually look what content type, community tab posts, live streams, shorts, videos, all together, how they're moving the needle for you overall, so that you can start looking at how people are finding your content, right? What's working for you? Understanding which content type is working well with other content types and which is helping you hit the goals for your channel that you want to hit. So really simply, first place to start, dashboard. That tells you what's going on with your newest video. Next place to go is your analytics tab on the left. That's 2 down. This will start showing you what's going on based on overall content together, right? Overall, everything that's happening together, videos across the board that have been performing well for you. And then the date range in the upper right, super important, date range. That's where you can change the date range because it starts at 28, but understand 28 and 90 are my favorite, and then custom beyond that, customize the date range. That's the things I want you to start with to understand what you're looking at. Content type, right? The content tab here, we just talked about the different types of content. You can go into things like audience, and you can start getting a better idea of like what other channels that your audience tends to be watching. I think a lot of you know that recently I've been talking about DaVinci Resolve more often. So now I'm starting to see some other DaVinci Resolve channels start showing up here, like Casey Ferris. He's the popular channel for my current audience that's been watching for the time frame. Again, we're only looking at last 28 days, and in the last 28 days, a popular channel for me, from the people who have been watching my content, they also watch Casey Ferris or vidIQ or Maddie Hapoya. So I start understanding some of the other interests of people who watch my content. I can even scroll down and see specific videos from other channels that people watch that are watching my channel. Really important in here. This audience tab is also fun for understanding when your audience is online. One of the things, you don't really get this data unless you have a certain amount of views. Some people go like, I don't have that data. I went there and I tried looking and I don't see that purple thing. You definitely need a certain amount of views, and I don't know the exact limit because it seems to change, but you need to be driving, usually tens of thousands views a month to your channel before. It's not a very high limit, but then this will start showing up. And what's cool about this is you can start looking at, well, think about this. The lighter areas is when the most amount of people are watching your content. The darker areas are when the fewest amount of people are watching your content. So you can do things like, well, based on, I like 90 days, perfect example of when I would change a date range. Do I want to look at just the last month of understanding when my viewers are watching? Nah, I'm better off going up to that date range in the upper right. Let me go a deeper date range like 90. Or maybe even I can do a custom date range and let me go like way back to, I'm going to start this off at January 1st. And let me see what's going on for the year. And it'll give me a little better idea. I drive enough views that mine doesn't change too much. Smaller channels, you're going to find that changes more frequently. Once you start, the more data you get, the more people watching your content, the more consistent the data will be. Very important point. Very important point. The more people who watch your content, the more consistent the data will be and reliable it will be, the more usable it is. Because if you're only looking at data from 2 people, like the 2 people who watched my content gave me a 15% CTR. Well, who were the 2 people? Well, it was my mom and my brother. Well, okay, maybe wait till it gets served out to more people. This is a great place to look at and think about, well, when are my viewers online? Sunday's a good one for me. We're right here on Sunday. A lot of times I'll go live because see that brightest purple is right around just before noon and just after noon, which is why I went live today at 10 a.m. on Sunday, my time. These are all based on my time, by the way, Eastern Standard Time. That's when people are around, and I can think about when I want to drop a video. I probably don't want to drop a video on Thursday after 6 p.m. because if you look there, really dark, not a lot of people on at that point. And not that I think videos that are dropped at the wrong time will destroy the video, but I'm always looking for velocity. Velocity is a thing that I think is it's a combination of metrics that you have to understand. Nobody needs to tell you when a video is doing well on your channel. If your video is doing well, does someone need to tell you the CTR? Does someone need to tell you the AVD? If you usually put out videos and they drive 200 views in the first day, and you drop a video today, and in the first 2 hours it drove 2,500 views, do you need to see the CTR? Do you need to see the AVD, or do you just go, that's cranking, that's got a ton of velocity? Velocity can sometimes happen early in a video's career, or it can happen later depending on how well you've built your target audience up to expect a video like that. So that's one of the things I do pay attention to, is when I drop, because I want my video to drop in front of the most amount of people. YouTube will tell you all the time, hey, it doesn't really matter when you drop a video. A good video will always do well over time, regardless of when you dropped it. And that in general is true. That in general is true. But why do you think large channels have high-performing videos and smaller channels have to wrestle to get those views? Large channels have built up an audience so that when they do drop a video, it's immediately put in front of a lot of people because they have a large community and subscriber base and people who have their content in their recent watch history. That's why sometimes people think that large channels have an advantage. They don't. They built that advantage by making sure that they're always dropping videos that are in front of a large amount of people who already have enjoyed previous content. So us using things like the audience metrics in the when your viewers on YouTube is the same thing. It's just understanding, how do I make sure when I do publish a video that it hopefully is in front of the most amount of eyeballs, that hopefully will then choose to click and watch, and hopefully send back traffic signals to YouTube quickly to let them know whether they like it or not. That does happen slowly over time, but I think if you can do it right out of the gate and try to find better times to publish where you have more bright purple, I usually try to treat this as a wave. Like I go, okay, this is when it starts getting slightly brighter and then super bright. I go, okay, there's fewer people on here, there's more people on here, and they stay on for about this amount of time, and then they start fading back out. So to ride that wave, I'm probably going to publish around 6 or 7 in the morning, my time, and hopefully ride that wave through the rest of the day. Pretty much almost on any day, right? It's very slightly, and I can see which days might have a few more people around. And I'm trying to play that game. I'm trying to find, at least with edited content, when the right time to publish is. And I say test that out. Play around with that. Find the right time. That's where that audience tab can be really useful to you. In terms of analytics here, now we're still sitting on, this is the main analytics page. All we've looked at is dashboard right here, right, to see most recent video and how it's working out. Fireworks, we love it. And then we just scroll down to the analytics page. We haven't done any deep diving. We've just been scrolling around and looking at the data that's ready for us, and then switch through the tabs up top. Content, audience, revenue, right? What's driving what kind of revenue? Research tab. You can use that to start deep diving into different topics that your audience might be interested in. I'm going to stay away from that now. I think we've talked about this in the past. I want to focus on readable metrics for content that actually is out there. So we have all these things, right? Content, audience. This is a great one too. One of the things I like about the audience tab here is if you look, there's two blue lines. There's two lines, a bluish line and a purple line. And this is a newer metric they started this past year that shows us new viewers and returning viewers. So the purple line you can see is returning viewers. The blue line is new viewers. It gives us a good idea of who's watching our content, who's coming back to watch our content. One of the things I hear a lot is, well, people don't like, Daniel, they don't like watching shorts. It's not like you're going to get a lot of people coming back to watch shorts. Really? All of this content at the beginning right here that's mostly a shorts test. And the purple line represents returning viewers for most of that content. And look at all of the returning viewers. Pretty strong stuff. I like understanding how many new viewers and how many returning viewers. Am I getting people back? One of the biggest things I think that we need to think about as creators who are trying to grow channels is one of the things in analytics is like, forget about getting as many views or subscribers. What can I make for content that not only will get them to watch this piece of content, but will bring them back to watch more of my content tomorrow? We want returning viewers. Not necessarily subscribers, returning viewers, people who have watched, subscribed or not, and have come back and chosen to watch another video. That can be in the very same watch session. That can be someone who watched a video and 2 minutes later went on to watch another video. That's a returning viewer. That's someone coming back to watch more content. We want that. We want binge watch sessions. We want to get them watching, keep them watching. The 4 main factors. Do they click? Do they watch? How long do they watch? What do they go on to watch next. And we want that to be more of our stuff. So that's one of the things I'm hoping that you're feeling as we move through this, talking about some of the analytics. Now, let me show you a deeper dive of where I like to live. So right off the bat, like I've said, let me get my face out of here so you can see it better. I love the dashboard. That's for new video. I love analytics. That gets us into the overview. But one of my favorite places to live is if you're in analytics, in the upper right, you will see this thing called advanced mode. Let me grab that. There we go. See this in the upper right? It's blue. It says advanced mode. I love advanced mode. This is one thing I think more people should pay attention to. Click on advanced mode, and it's going to open up that same, as I said, in the upper right, We're still on that 28 days. Time frame matters. Make sure you always understand that you're not just looking at analytics to look at them, but you're looking at them knowing the time frame and why you want to know that time frame. This is a great place where you can start to understand what videos are performing and for what metrics, okay? By default, it's going to be 28 days. By default, you're going to start seeing these columns. It's going to start listing videos based on performance, starting with views, right? That's the number one column, views. And then it's going to start listing all of these videos in order from the highest amount of views in 28 days. And it's going to list those videos, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's going to start putting them in order. But one of the cool things you'll realize is, well, you've got all these other tabs. You've got all these columns, right? That says views, but that says watch time. That says subscribers. That says estimated revenue. That says impressions. You can actually start changing things and go, well, is my highest viewed video or my second highest viewed video necessarily my highest video for conversion, driving subscribers? Is my second highest viewed video my second highest viewed video for subscribers? I can show you right now that you would go, wait a minute, Daniel, I think I'm seeing in this advanced mode something you were talking about, right? Let me see if I can do this. This is sorted by views, right? Here's the number one video for views in the last 28 days. And look, it drove 604 subscribers. Well, here's the number two video for views, but it only drove 53 subscribers. Here's the number three video for views, but it drove 304. I'm scribbling everywhere. It drove 304 subscribers. And then you see how these subscriber numbers are very different than the view numbers? This is one of the things I try to help creators understand. Understand reach, understand like what's converting, what's important. Is it just reach? Is it just reaching people? Or is it important to know which videos are converting better, which are making more people decide to subscribe? If you want to know, the cool thing is here in advanced mode, you can go to any one of these columns, and if you hover over it, see how that kind of became like when I hovered over it, it highlighted it, and my mouse turned into a little hand. I can then click on subscribers, and it'll reshuffle these videos based on not views, but subscribers. So now I'm looking at, well, conversion. So if I say to you, hey, which videos have been doing really well for you for conversion? Go into advanced mode, analytics, advanced mode, last 28 days. Click on the subscribers column and then make sure it reorders them so you go, that's been the highest video for making some people subscribe. That's been the second highest video for bringing subscribers to my channel. That's been the third. That's been the fourth. This is one of those things where you can quickly answer based on what you want to know, not thinking, well, I'm just going to click on metrics and analytics and somehow they're going to teach me something. I have to read them and somehow interpret them. Ask the right question. What do you want to know from your analytics? Well, I'd really like to know which videos are converting, making people subscribe to my channel. Okay, how long a time frame would you like to look at to understand? Do you want to know which ones have been doing it in the last 4 weeks? Would you like to know which one have been doing it the most over the year? Would you like to know which one have been doing it the most in the last 3 months? Well, then, okay, know that question going in and go, okay, cool, I'm in my advanced mode, and then start using these tabs to let your data give you the answers to the questions you're asking. Don't look at your data and look at answers and then ask questions. Go, wait a minute, I have a question. I want to know which content is driving the most amount of subscribers. Okay, click on subscribers and it'll reorder them and tell you. Well, wait a minute, I want to know which videos are driving the most amount of money. to my channel because I'm more interested in making money. Well, look at it again. Look at it again. Can you see right off the bat that when it comes to subscribers, if that's an important thing, this is the order of what's working. But then look at the revenue. You know, this one, number 2, is a short. It drove 304 subscribers, but it drove 70 cents. 70 cents. What am I going to do with 70 cents? Right? But the number 1 video for subscribers drove $433. The number 5 video drove $34. There's one way down here that drove $59 that didn't do nearly as well for subscribers, but it did great for money. So understanding the question you're asking, what is it you want to know? And then understand how that content is performing. And don't expect all content to do all things. If your joy in life is to go, well, I want the perfect video. I want it to bring millions of subscribers, get millions of views, make me millions of dollars. That's unrealistic because that's not how content strategies work. What you really want to be thinking about is a broader spectrum of using your analytics to go, trying to figure out what it is I want my channel to do. Is it important to you to have the most subscribers in the world? You know, who doesn't want to have a lot of subscribers? That looks kind of cool from the outside in. But would you rather have a channel with 2,000 subscribers that makes you $100,000 a year? Or would you rather have one with 200,000 subscribers that makes you $10,000 a year? Depends what your goals are, right? So using the advanced mode of analytics can start to make that stuff take form and give you answers that you want, okay? So that advanced mode, once again, YouTube Studio, scroll down, Analytics tab, advanced mode in the upper right, that's going to bring us here. And then we're going to have a date range. Here's a really cool thing that you can do. People have been asking me about this. See in the upper left here, it's got my name. That's my name because that's my channel name, right? Channel. And it's got like a search and my name. And most people ignore this. My favorite place to live as well. If you click up there, it's going to open up options. And it allows you to look at, it defaults to all, meaning everything we're seeing down below here, let me get my face out of this, is all of my content. So you're seeing some long form, some shorts, some live streams. It's just putting it all together. Everything I've put up for videos on my channel. But if I click on this, I can do things like I can look at the playlists, right? Or I can do specific videos. My favorite feature is groups. If you click on groups, and you go to the, most of you won't have groups if you haven't made one, you click on new, create new group, you can now create a group. Meaning you can name that group, and you can go down and you can start selecting content that you want to be in that group. It's a data set group. Let me see if I can make sure I explain this so I don't want anything to sound confusing. If I said to you, hey, forget about your overall content on your channel, how have your shorts been performing overall? The very first thing I would expect for you to say to me is, well, I have a group. I've taken all my recent shorts and I put them in a group, and I can open up that group and show you the data. Or I just want to know how my recent live streams have been doing. Or I just want to know how my recent edited videos have been doing. Groups is where you can do that. So if you're in your analytics and then advanced mode, click up on your name and then click on groups, and you can create a group right up here. You can title the name of the group, add videos by clicking. Every time you click one, it'll bring it into that group, and then you can save, and it'll save it into a group. I'm not making a group right now. But if you look at some of the groups I've been using, some of these go back to 2019. I've been making groups for forever. Some of them were Filmora stuff when I was doing sponsored content, and I wanted to quickly be able to send Filmora data on how the videos that I had done that were sponsored for them and send them how many views, how many likes, how many shares, how many all that stuff. And go, yeah, let me just grab that whole group and I can export that data and send it to you. But for me right now, like I'm doing a DaVinci Resolve for Noobs test, right? Here's that group. I can click on it, and now everything I've put, let me make sure I've shown you this. Let me edit. DaVinci Resolve for Noobs is now all of the stuff that was DaVinci Resolve for Noob shorts. I click on them, they all end up in this group. I actually added one this morning. I put out a video this morning that I haven't added. Can you see it right here in the second one down? Let me click on that. It now has been added to the group. Click Save. And then when I click on the DaVinci Resolve for Noob group, all the data I'm seeing is just those shorts that were in that set. And all the data I'm seeing here is last 28 days, remember date range, and all of those videos put into a singular group. I can look at views. I can look at the watch time, the amount of subscribers, the amount of revenue, a whole $5.98. Do not make shorts if you're looking to get rich. The average view duration. That's important. Like, what is the average view duration that people tend to watch my shorts? 28 seconds. Maybe that's something I want to think about. If I'm going to make shorts, if I can get them closer to, I can keep them watching for 28 seconds. Maybe 28 seconds is my target if I can just nail it. The amount of impressions and click-through rate is when they're served on different traffic sources. But here's what's really fun. If you look right here, there's a little blue dot. See that blue plus check mark? This whole analytics. I've now made a group. I'm looking at that group data for the videos that I want to look at, and I'm looking at it for the last 28 days. Now, I've been making shorts for more than 28 days. So maybe I want to go, wait a minute, I started them like the beginning of last month, so I need to change the date range to like April 1st because this is only showing me 28 days. I started them like the 6th. So the first thing, if I want to know the right amount of data, I got to change the date range because it's defaulting to 28 days, but I've been doing it for more than 28 days. So let me change the date range. Okay, now we're better. Now we're looking at videos, and if you look at all these neat colored graphs, one of the things you have to understand about making groups or any data that's showing up on YouTube analytics, it only picks like the top. See how they're colored? Look on the left. Let me see if I can show you this. Can you see right here? It's like there's a blue one, a green one, an orange one, a purple, a red, and then they all turn gray. They all turn gray. That's what YouTube does for analytics off the bat. It pre-selects 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5. It shows you 5. Is it 5? 5 data graphs by default. You can make the people dizzy by clicking all over the place like I just did. You can scroll down. I think it'll let you select the most recent 12. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Moment of truth, 11, 12. It won't let me click the 13th. So 12. I can click on the most highest performing 12 right now is for views. And now I'm looking at that data. See all these different little lines, and they color code each one. So you're seeing how each one is doing, and you can start seeing things like, let's see, right in here, this blue one's been, it not only popped here, but then it popped again, has been doing well overall. Let me hover over that blue one, and at the top, I can see the listing of, if it'll let me scroll in, I can see that was easy freeze frame trick, DaVinci Resolve. I can learn from my data. That short did much better with my target audience recently than some of the other ones. So I can pay attention to which topics, even though they're all about DaVinci Resolve, what they seem to like more. The idea of an easy freeze frame trick work. Maybe I want to come back to that. But these graphs only represent the selected videos. The totals here are going to represent the overall totals of all of them, everything in this list, for this date range. So far, 139,000 views, a little over 1,000 watch hours. The series has gained just under 1,500 new subscribers, made crap for money because they're shorts. But then I can start looking at this. Another thing we can do before we add anything in, let me start here. I can click at the very top. Tube Spanner. Oh, I have to say thank you to Danielle. I did a video about Deja Vu last week. It didn't do very well. Apparently everyone's seen it before. Danielle from Tube Spanner. You may have seen Danielle, who's not only a wonderful developer of the Tube Spanner product, which I recommend you all checking out, was on a video with me recently talking about some of the transgender issues that were going on. Thank you, Danielle, for the super chat. Much appreciated. Definitely check out Tube Spanner. If you haven't, there's some crazy stuff she got going on over there. Let me get back over here for a second. Let me pull this back up. If you're looking at these analytics, you can click at the very top. Do you see where it says total? See that white total mark? If you only click this one, what it'll do is it'll combine all this stuff underneath and go, just give me the big graph. Just give me the big graph. I don't need all those individual selected ones. See, right now I've got everything selected. Let me deselect everything. I don't want just the top 5 or the top 12 or the top, whatever, 12 is the max. Give me all of this combined and show me as a graph how it's performing. Right now I've got views selected, right? Remember, these are columns. So views is what it's showing me because that's selected. That's how this series of videos is performing over my custom date range, which was the beginning of last month, 4 views right here. I'm going to stop for a second. Does this make sense? We went into analytics, we built a group, we pulled up that group, we asked for a custom date range, which was the beginning of last month. We've selected the views column, and we selected total. And we are now looking at this group for this period of time, just for views, and we want the total of all of those videos together, and that's what that line represents. Tell me whether or not that portion makes sense. Because I think I love analytics. I'm such a data geek. I dive down these rabbit holes and people go, whoa, you went so fast. I didn't even know how you got there. And I'm always want to make sure that if I showed you a path to see something and understanding, hey, I just want to know this one thing, how can I find that? How can I find if my shorts alone have how many subscribers they've driven as a set in the last 2 months? Do you feel like you understand what I just showed you, that you could maybe go find that you could go into advanced mode of analytics, make that group, find that column, and put that together? Does that kind of make sense? Yes, no, maybe so. Currently working on getting 1,000. There we go. Yes, it makes sense. Thank you. Perfect. Perfect sense. Good. The Brits gets it too. Kitty with hard eyes. That's definitely that's a win. I think that's a win. Just made my first group. Perfect. LBC Branding just made a first group. So once you make that first group, LBC Branding, remember, you make your group, set the date range, and then remember all of those columns that are next to it are individual things that you can click on to get better ideas for a deeper dive of each one. Let me show you some of the cool things you can do. So in this instance, right, I made all these groups. We're dealing with my DaVinci Resolve for Noobs Shorts group. Let me make it simpler, because when you see custom, it's not, I'm going to say last 90 days, because I didn't start it 90 days ago, which makes sense, right? I didn't start it 90 days ago, so all of this data is flatlined because I only started it right in here. So all the data, even though I'm asking for the last 90 days of data, the videos I'm asking about only started publishing right here. So you're not going to have any data back there, but that's okay. It doesn't hurt me to add 90 days. It just means understand that everything back here, there's no data for them because you weren't publishing them back then. So last 90 days, here's what we're looking at. Let me show you another trick. I can click on views. I can click on subscribers and reshuffle them just to know what's been the highest performing short for subscribers in that time frame. I can click on average view duration right here. And now I can see which one of these has the longest average view duration for those shorts in those series. Does that mean it's the highest performing for subscribers? No. I could say, well, that's the ones they watched the longest, but it only got 46 subscribers. That could have a lot to do with when it was dropped, what number in the series. There's all these different things I want you to think about. The data is just data. Understand what you're asking, why you want to know that information, and what you're going to do with it. A lot of times we'll say, well, I want to know more things that aren't really shown right here. You've got this nice little data set, Daniel, but I want to know more. I want to know things like how many times my short was shown to people on the short shelf. That doesn't show it here. It shows impressions, but that's for different traffic sources. Well, see that blue? Remember I told you this little blue plus button right here? That one right there? That says add metrics to table. You can click that and then go, okay, let me look at the other options of what I can add. Well, I'd like to know. Let me click right here. I want to know how many times my short was shown in the short feed. I want to know how many viewers watched it versus swiping away. I want to know how many average views per viewer they were watching. Is an average viewer watching 1 short, 2 shorts, 3 shorts? I want to know. I want to know these things. So if you want to know those things, all you have to do is just say, okay, well, perfect. Why don't I just click that blue plus button and add that metric? I want to know the average views per viewer. Click it, and you'll now see that it's added into your columns right here. That's now a new column. And see how it's brighter white than the other words on these ones? It's high. Usually the very first one by default means it's giving you all these metrics based on this particular piece of information. We're looking at average views per viewer. This is where sometimes people get confused. It says, well, there was 2.2 average views per viewer. But Daniel, that makes no sense. All the videos underneath are 1.1, 1.11. How does 1.1 across all these videos average out to 2.2? That doesn't make any sense. That's not even That's not even new math. That's bad math. What you have to understand is the individual metrics for average view per viewer is based on that video. Meaning, maybe someone watched this, the average views on this video was 1.1 times. They'll watch it one time through and then another 10th of the way through. But then they go on to watch the next one. And they also watch that for 1.1. So it's cumulative. It's taking all these different videos and putting them together. And overall, when this is individual and this is the cumulative of all them put together. Maybe people watch 2 or 3 videos at a time. I'm always trying to get more views. Average view per viewer. In a perfect world, this is a number I want to improve on. My short series is new. I've got an average viewer is watching 2.2 shorts when I put them out as a group. That's what they're averaging. They'll watch 2.2 times. Whether they're watching the same one, I can go, are they watching the same one 2.2 times? Doesn't look like it. It looks like they're actually watching the average short 1.1 time and then going on to another one. How do I know? Because the average view per viewer is 2.2 and the individual short is only averaging 1.1. Did I just totally data geek out on you guys? Did you understand what I just said there? Understanding the question you're asking and then putting the analytics in place to find the answer you're looking for. I am very interested in trying to get people to watch as many of my shorts from the short series that I'm doing right now. So I want them to watch 2 or 3 in a single session. That will help get more of my content recommended. They're watching about 2.2 recently. I'm going to see if I can push that up. I'm going to be watching that. I don't care if they watch each one time. If they watch each one time through, that's good enough for me. Do I need them to watch it one video 3 times through? That'd be nice. But more importantly, I want to see them go on to watch more of my videos. Don't watch one short. I want to see an average of 3 views per viewer, and I want to see that you watch each short an average of 1 time each. So then I know you went from one short to another short to another short. And I use the data to get the answer I was looking for. I didn't just look at the data and go, I have no idea what these numbers mean. I know the question I was asking. How many views per viewer are my short series driving? Okay. An average of 2.2. Well, are they watching the same video 2.2 times? No. The data shows that they're watching each video an average of 1.1 time each, and the average total views is 2.2, which tells me they're going on to watch another short. So it's just a matter of understanding the question, looking at the data, and learning to understand and interpret the data. Did I lose you guys in that? Did that make sense? Did that seem like the question I asked, I knew going in, and then I knew how to find the answer to the question using analytics? If it's making some sense, thumbs up. If it's making no sense, thumbs down. Because I want to make sure this is one of those things we will never cover in one video, and I'll probably come back and answer questions and we'll talk about this again. But I want you guys to feel more empowered. I want you to go, oh, Daniel showed me how to go into analytics and then go into advanced mode and then start looking at the columns and the grouping. And now I have a better feeling of how I can start getting the answers that I'm looking for, instead of just going, what's a good CTR? What's a good AV? Those questions are too surface. We want granular data. We want to be able to deep dive. We want to be able to go, what's working, what's not working, and get the answers to the questions that we're really looking for based on our own channel, not compared to everybody else. We want to look at our stuff. We want to figure out what's working. I'm getting thumbs up. Kitty, always kitty with hearts is always a good thing. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay, so it's starting to make sense. So that's what I want you guys to think about, how to get in that door and know how to ask the questions. That's one, because that's whenever you think about, Daniel, how would I find out? I want you to go, all right, Daniel showed me how to find the information. Instead of asking Daniel how to find it, I want to be able to go into my analytics and go, I want my analytics to answer the question that I may have asked of Daniel or Nick Nimmin or Daryl Eves or Roberto Blake or anybody who's out there, Sean Cannell. I want to be able to go in and go, I have the answers in here. I just need to know how to find them and find the path to the answer easily. As I was showing you guys, that blue plus button, you can go in there and you can say, well, maybe there's other things I want to know. Maybe there's I want to know how, here it's showing me, here's a perfect example. Here it's showing me how many subscribers this particular short series gained. For all of those videos combined, for these shorts I've made, it's gained just under 1,500 subscribers in the last little over a month. Yeah, but one of the questions might be well, that's cool, But are shorts pushing people away? Are they making people unsubscribe from my channel? That just shows you total subscribers. Does that tell you how many you've gained versus how many you've lost? No. So I go back to that blue plus button right here, and let me put those in. I want to know right here under the interactions, which is at the bottom. Whoop, let me get there. I can add different metrics, like how many likes, how many dislikes, how many shares, how many subscribers gained, how many subscribers lost. Perfect, let's do that. Let's add subscribers gained. It'll refresh. Let me hit the blue plus button again, and let's find out how many subscribers lost. So this is looking at, so we remember, analytics, advanced mode. We made a group, and now we are looking at that group for the last 90 days. And we are looking at, as we scroll down, we can say, I want to know how many subscribers this gained and how many it lost, because the total subscribers will be total gained minus how many we lost. That only gives me this metric. It doesn't tell me how many we lost. It just tells me how many overall we were up. Like if you were, at a slot machine, you'd know how much money you were up overall or how much you were down overall. We want to know how many subscribers total we gained and how many it pushed away. This is a great one for me because I kept testing out. People were telling me, if you do shorts, your regular subscribers, it pushes them all away. They'll unsubscribe. I've only lost 46. For me, that's a very low number. I lose 1,500 to 2,000 subscribers every month on my channel. So only losing 46 in over a month, that tells me these shorts are doing a good thing. I've added 1529 and only 46 people have moved away because of them. So they're not a significant metric of content that's pushing people away. So if anyone says to me, shorts don't work, they make people unsubscribe, they won't watch you long, they'll all leave my channel. Well, instead of just saying that, go into your data, pull up all of your shorts, make a group, then add in subscribers gained versus subscribers lost, and then look at how many subscribers you've lost over a specific period of time that we picked in the upper right. And instead of pretending like no, find the data. Go, well, I've lost this many subscribers, but I've gained this many. It looks like I thought they were pushing people away. I've seen people do that. They'll say to me, well, so, shorts make people unsubscribe from my channel overall. They stop watching my long form content. You can find out how many people, you can look at that data. You can look at just the long form content and see how that's performing and underperforming. You can separate it and go, forget the shorts. Let me just look at my long form data. I'm going to take shorts out of the picture and I just want to see how my long form data is performing and maybe why. And you can separate that and get answers and just start to get dissected pieces of very specific information based on your channel to answer those questions instead of guessing and going, well, I heard shorts hurt your channel. Well, don't care about what you heard. Come up with a short strategy, test it out, and see if it's bringing people, see if they're commenting, if they're liking, if they're sharing. We can do all that. We can add in. We can actually go, well, are people sharing my shorts? I don't know. I don't know if people are sharing my shorts. Let's find out. Daniel, are people sharing your shorts? I'll come over here to that blue plus button again, and I will come down to the interactions, and I will click on, at the bottom here, shares. How many people are sharing my shirts? Sharing my shorts. I don't want them sharing my shorts either. In the last month, 835 times my shorts have been shared to somebody else. That's positive. That's a good number. Not only people seem to be subscribing, haven't lost a lot of subscribers, they're also seeming to share the content out to other people without me ever asking for anything. They're just doing it because they liked it. Cool. That's a cool thing. I can answer that question very specifically without having to guess. I can look at my data and go, are people sharing? If I said to you, hey, of that new shorts series that you put out there, how many people are sharing it? You shouldn't go, how do I find that? I'm showing you how to find it. Go into analytics, go into advanced mode, create a group of just the videos that you want to pay attention to, pull open that group, and then figure out the date range. Well, are people sharing your shorts? Your answer should be smartass, and you should say, what time frame would you like to know about? Would you like to know last 28 days or last 90? Show me the last 90. And you pull up and then you go, okay, perfect. Yeah, I've got it set for last 90 right up here in the upper right. And I can tell you that I've gotten 835 shares in the last 90 days just of my shorts. Now you have data that you can work with. Now you have data that you can pay attention to, that you have distinct answers to the kind of questions instead of guessing whether something is working or not on your channel or going by hyperbole. A lot of people like to scream and they go, oh, shorts don't work, or this doesn't work, or that live streams don't work. Test it out. Look at your data. Let your data tell you whether or not the things that you have questions about, find the answers and find out if those things are true or not true for your channel, not based on something someone else has told you. Find it out if it's true for your channel, because we all know that each one of us is different and we make content differently, and we want to know how that content is performing for us based on our style, based on how we've been making things, because that's what's going to allow us to adjust, to analyze and adjust and go, I really would like to see that drive for a few more views. My shorts are losing more subscribers than I want. Not just come to the conclusion that shorts lose subscribers, go, my shorts are losing me subscribers. I need to adjust the way I make shorts, because the ones I'm making aren't driving a lot of views and are pushing people away. What I want is I want them to watch a decent amount and I want them to gain subscribers. So let me swap my strategy, because my data says the way I'm doing it now ain't working. So I have to change my strategy and go, if it's not working, it's not. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make, if they try short, I tried shorts and they hurt my channel. I always ask, what was the strategy? What was the strategy? I made shorts. Well, what kind of shorts did you make? Were you repurposing? Were you cutting up older content? Were you making fresh content? What was the topic? What was the title? What were you aiming for? I made shorts. Well, that's not going to work. That's the people who are going to struggle at the bottom, who just randomly throw stuff out and think that all videos are created equal. It's like saying, I don't understand why Mr. Beast gets so many views. I made videos and mine don't get views. What was your strategy? What was the niche? What was the topic? What was the title? What was the thumbnail? How long have you been doing it? You guys know this much. You know that you can't just go, well, I made a video on YouTube and it didn't get any views, so YouTube sucks. That's not how it works. You got to have strategy. You got to understand what you're trying to build, who you're building it for, and the reason why those people might watch, and then learn how to use these analytics to go in and make groups and look at some of the data and start understanding why things are working. And if it isn't, don't blame the content, don't blame the platform. Think about, well, I'm not getting the views I'd like, or I'm not getting the engagement I'd like. Is it because I haven't done it long enough? Maybe I need to keep doing it a little longer. Am I off in my target? Do I need to change the way I'm titling? Are the videos too long? Are the shorts too long? Are the live streams too long? And then think about, you can do it for every single one of these, and then think about what you need to adjust to have these things start hitting the goals that you've set. If you want live streams to make you more money, then maybe along the way you go, hey, if this has been informational and helpful, drop a super chat. You could say things like, hey, if you have a question you'd like to ask and you'd like me to answer it, I'm going to be answering super chats first. So just so you know, if people who have dropped super chats, I'm going to answer those questions first. It's always a strategy to what you do. Not that I'm asking you to drop super chats, please. That's not what I meant. But there's always a strategy to why you do things, how you do things, and the expectation. People aren't necessarily going to do what you expect them to if you don't create a strategy to have them do that. So understanding the back end of your analytics and getting in here is going to be the key to it. One thing I should show you is if you do create groups, right here I have a DaVinci Resolve for noobs group that I'm dealing with. Sometimes you'll have more than one group. Maybe you'll have a group of shorts doing one thing and you want to compare that to maybe your long form. You can create another group right up here like I showed you, right? That's maybe long form content. And if you have this here, I can go, well, I want to compare shorts, all of my shorts, to my long form. Up in the upper right, click on compare. You can click on groups and you could pick DaVinci long form. I'm going to now compare how my shorts are doing to my long form. And I can look at all those same kind of ideas. I can break them up by metrics of traffic sources, geography, cities, and it's going to start showing me how those two groups of videos are performing next to each other, right? So like the purple line right here would be, if you look down, would be long form. And then the teal, help me, colorblind. Teal? Blue? Megan, what color is that?
It's a teal.
Teal? Is it teal?
Yeah.
All right, teal. The teal is the shorts. I've been doing more shorts, of course. Those are performing a little better for me recently for things like views. So you can start comparing those groups too. Understanding how to use the analytics specifically is really the first step to getting to where you want to be. Date range, upper right, analytics on the left, go into advanced mode, and then start deciding which metrics you want to watch for, right? The blue plus button will allow you to add all kinds of metrics in. Clicking on any of these columns will then reorder your videos based on things like subscribers, based on things like impressions. If you want to see which one's getting the most impressions, which one's getting the click-through rate, the highest click-through rate. Like I've got this, look at this. Here's a video right here that's got the highest click-through rate for the last 28 days. 26.3. How many views did it get? 7. Well, why did it only get 7? Well, it was a members-only live. We were talking about winning the click, and it only got served to my channel members. So, of course, it's only got 7 views in 28 daid. If I did lifetime, I'd probably change. Maybe there'd be more like 100 or so based on how many members I have. It'll choke on this right now, right? And if we did impressions click-through rate, now there changes again too, right? Because it just depends on what I'm looking at. These numbers are going to change. That's a 50% click-through rate, but it only got 9 views. So it just depends on what those things are. Don't take metrics out of context. Understand what those metrics mean and why they're important and why you're asking that question. Just asking what's a good click-through rate ain't going to do it. What you should be asking is, which of my content's driving a lot of impressions being served out to a lot of people. In my lifetime, which one has had the most amount of impressions? Here's a great example of a question in context. I'm looking at date range. I am looking at the lifetime of my channel. Lifetime, since I started on July 18th of 2018. I have asked which videos have had the broadest reach. I'm looking at impressions. Let me go over to impressions. I am on impressions, right? Yeah, impressions. Which has had the highest amount of impressions. That's why it's highlighted right there. And this one right here has had 43 million impressions, and it's also the highest performing video. The second highest video with 16 million impressions is my second highest performing video. My third highest performing video for impressions is also my third highest performing video with about 750,000 views. You'll usually find that impressions is the number to pay attention to. But again, the reason I'm looking at that is I want to know in general the performance of the channel. I may want to come back to some of these topics. Understand the questions you're asking, how to find the answers, and do not take data out of context. Take data in context of the question. If anyone says, if you ever ask yourself, what's a good CTR? What's a good average view duration? The very first question you should ask yourself again is based on how many impressions, based on over what period of time. You can have a great click-through rate if only 2 people watched and both clicked. That's 100% CTR. It's going to be very different than a million people being served your video and 10% CTR and it got 100,000 views. Very different. So understand the context of the questions you're asking and how to find the answers. Do we have a new channel member? If that's a new channel member, make sure you go to the membership tab of my channel and scroll down and click on the perks. Definitely, you can find all the stuff that's there specifically for you, and you can join our Facebook members only group by sending your channel URL. Megan will confirm you because that's what she's good at. She takes care of these things, and we'd love to have you in for some of these things. We do a lot of streams like this in the members only group that are just for members only, where it's more specific. We pull up some channels and we do some deeper dives. Listen, I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, because this is such a big conversation, ask them in the comments section. Drop them in the comments on the replay of this. Ask me things like that was, if there's something you wish I had dived into a little deeper, call it out, because it gives me clues on what to talk about next time, and start steering these conversations in the direction of what you guys really want to learn, as opposed to just what I might want to talk about. Because I always want to make sure that I not only give you like an open doorway where you feel learning this stuff is a little easier and it makes a little sense, but I want to go deeper. I always want to make sure that you guys, if you have specific questions, then I see many of you asking this similar question, I know that that's important and I know it's something we should talk about. So thanks for hanging out on this Sunday with me. Thanks to Megan for always keeping the chat in line and the mods that are here today. And you guys keep creating. Get out there and make some videos. And let's talk about this again soon. I'll talk to you.